probably seen it already, but the result did change in GT Open. I was scrolling through Instagram, I saw it, the McLaren came up, and I was like, yeah. Because Cerami won, but he got the penalty. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Barcelona for the penultimate rounds of the 2019 International GT Open Championship. Scott Woodward's here trackside to guide you through all the action. And I have to say, if you were with us yesterday, what a difference 24 hours makes. Because, of course, if you remember, at the start of yesterday, it was rather disruptive with heavy rain, thunder, lightning, and everything that the elements could throw at the circuit. But thankfully, we come here this morning for the second qualifying session of the weekend in beautiful, typical, sunny Spanish sunshine. Warm temperatures, blue skies, and not a rain cloud in sight. It is gorgeous weather conditions this morning as the cars head out for the second 30-minute qualifying session of the weekend. This is for the designated second drivers, so the fastest time from this session, of course, will set pole position. And if you were with us yesterday, it was a thrilling first race in mixed conditions. It started in the wet, crossed over to the dry in similar conditions to what we had this morning. But the result, I should tell you, since we last were on air, has changed, because you may remember at the last couple of corners there was a change for the lead between this car, the number 17 car of Andres Sarabia and Fran Reda, and the Antonelli Motorsport car, which had Laura Spinelli at the wheel. Now that result has actually changed because it was deemed that the overtake that he pulled off into the chicane saw him cut the curb, and therefore because of that they've been given a 5-second time penalty, which put them actually down to second place. So that gave the victory yesterday to the Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren, this car right here, Andres Sarabia and Fran Reda, which means now they will be on course to try and do the double if they can. It is Andres Sarabia who is out to set the time. He will be looking to get pole position. And other contrasting fortunes we have for our championship leaders, because the combo of Giacomo Altoe and Albert Costa was not so formidable yesterday, and they only finished 11th, and that meant they didn't score any points. And also that means that because of the win we had yesterday, it closes up the championship points gap even further. What was quite a substantial lead, it's now come right down, which means it could be quite a barnstorming finish for the last 3 rounds of the championship, starting with today's race later on this afternoon. So cars already out on circuit, putting in their first flying laps. There is Andres Sarabia. Of course, it did mean that we got both of the Teo Martin Motorsport McLarens on the podium, with the other car of Enrique Chavez and Martin Kodrich picking up 3rd place. And thankfully, no wet weather conditions to have to tackle this morning. It is thankfully nicely bone dry, and track temperatures nicely in the 20s now, so it should mean that these guys will be able to get the optimum range of performance from the Michelin tyres. Stick with Andres Sarabia, makes his way out to the Verse chicane. There's car number 13. That was the car that performed well yesterday. That was the second of the Get Speed Performance Mercedes. That car, Denis Remenyenko, sharing that car with Fabian Schiller. Good first stint for Schiller, which put him out into the leading group, but Remenyenko did drop back a little bit yesterday. And as a result of that, he struggled a bit more. There is the Indy Donche and Russell Ward, number 33 Mercedes, doing well this morning. And it's Indy Donche at the wheel. Heads into turn 1. I think he's just winding himself up for a fast lap. As we've got everyone out on track trying to set times. The first competitive time that's come in has come from Guillaume Salas, number 22 Mercedes. He's done a 146.617, but that's not going to be totally representative of the fastest time. Andres Sarabia, on his first flying lap, has done a 148.980, so he's got some time to find on that side. Laura Spinelli, who took the victory on the road yesterday, but he will, of course, be starting the car today. Ended up second in the result due to the penalty, is in second place. Or he was, but now Albert Costa, the championship leader, is now up to second quickest now. So the quickest time is still 146.617, which actually is quicker than I was expecting. So the Guillaume Salas Mercedes, with a cracking time, there it is on track. He's sharing that car with Marcio Basson. Now that driver pairing normally competes in GT Cup Open in a GT4 AMG Mercedes, but they've switched to the GT3 for this weekend. It seems to be paying off. This is Eliseo Martinez at the wheel of the Lazarus Racing Lamborghini. He shares that with the former Ferrari Challenge and Blancpain star Ezequiel Perez Companc, the Argentinian. And Perez Companc put in a good stint in the first part. Martinez dropped off a little bit in the second half of the race when it started to dry out. And we had this sort of crossover period yesterday where everyone started on the wet tyres. But when the pit window opened, everyone was almost waiting for it to be the optimum time to make the transition from wet to dry tyres. By the time they actually changed over, it was almost just out of the intermediate stage, which made it very tricky for drivers to keep the cars on the road, and they were struggling for grip and traction. And the cars that came in early for tyres, for dry tyres, were able to make a massive benefit as a result of that. So Albert Costa, already feeling a lot more comfortable on these bone-dry conditions, is already half a second up on the current fastest time, which has now gone to the 77 of Maciej Lisowski. Now that is the Audi R8 of Olymp Racing, so that's a cracking time from them. So two cars which I wouldn't expect to be as high up as they are. Also a good time for third fastest with Federico Leo in the Ombra Racing Lamborghini. He shares that car with Najim Razak. And there you see the BMW of Bajtskevisa in the Senkia Motorsport team run car, which he shares with Richard Gonda. I've got Elliot Wood alongside me here this morning as well. Elliot, I think first of all we can say much better conditions than we had yesterday, because at one point it was absolutely awful. We had thunder, we had lightning, we had everything the elements wanted to throw at us, but thankfully the weather gods have blessed us with typical Spanish sunshine this morning, and I think we're all the more thankful for it.
We are definitely thankful for the improved weather conditions. What that has done to the condition in the track in regards to rubber, though, we don't know yet, because obviously the more racing you do, the more rubber that gets laid down, and when there's rain, it scrubs it all off. So it'll be interesting to see how much quicker this track gets during the session, which we still have 23 minutes of at the moment.
Well, Albert Costa has gone top, as many probably would have expected in the bone-dry conditions. 1:45.413 for his fastest flying lap. Michael Grenier, his teammate, sharing that car with Norbert Seidler, comes across the line, and he goes fastest by 88 one-thousandths of a second. So it's back to the form book with a 1-2 for Emil Frey Racing. This car's looking particularly quick, though. Olymp Racing haven't had a proper chance to shine. The last time we saw them was back at the Red Bull Ring, when they were getting dumped down the race, one of the Lazarus Racing Lamborghinis, and they've now gone still third fastest. But looking at their pace, Elliot, fastest first and second sectors only just. So in the completely dry conditions, whatever they've done overnight this morning, because they got rudely sort of dumped out of race one by being put into the gravel trap at turn 4, and what was a very crazy start. And you see there, Lisowski not shy to get the tail out exiting turn 2. But this car potentially, we saw some strong performances from some unexpected names, unexpected cars in the field yesterday. In the dry conditions, this could be another one.
It very could be. And an unusual thing about Olymp Racing is it actually runs two entirely different cars in this championship. It runs the Audi that we've seen on screen and the Mercedes AMG GT3 car. Olymp Racing, of course, was the last place car yesterday, so has less mileage in the slightly drier conditions than anyone else. So it is kind of an unknown, this pace assessing at the moment, with another personal best in the first sector.
So we'll keep an eye on how they're going. At the moment, Lisowski's actually also the fastest in the speed trap, so the Audi's certainly producing quite a bit of poke in a straight line. Albert Costa goes faster even still. He now goes back to the top of the times. A bit of sort of leapfrog going on between the two Emil Frey cars. Sort of Costa takes the top spot, then Grenier goes in front, then Costa goes back in front again. So it's interesting to watch how that will play out in many cases. Also a strong time so far, fourth quickest for one of the two Raton Racing by Target Lamborghinis, Franck Pereira, who was a former Formula 3000 star at one point, is fourth quickest. And Guillaume Salas fifth, Federico Leo sixth. The other Raton Racing car, number 19, just coming into the pit lane, Raffaele Gianmaria, who shares that car with Jiatong Liang, is up into the pits as Michael Grenier once again takes over from Albert Costa. So they're playing sort of punch and counter punch between the two Emil Frey cars, but so far they've got a grip on the front row of the grid by at least 3/4 of a second. But going into second place with a cracking lap time is Tom Onslow Cole, who is the leading Pro-Am car, second quickest and only a 10th off the top time from Grenier, and splitting the two Lamborghinis. Incredible stuff.
And Tom Onslow Cole almost got in a bit of trouble yesterday due to his speed, actually, because he was one of the lapped cars but was refusing to concede to waved blue flags. He was actually going faster than anyone else on track during the latter stages of yesterday's race. So if he starts higher up the order this time, that probably won't be a problem.
Yeah, I think there was a point where effectively he was in a catch-22 when effectively he was being asked to respect the blue flags because he had the leaders behind him, but at the same time he couldn't really help his pace because he was going as quick as the leaders, if not quicker. So therefore, all he could really do was simply, if he could, put his foot down and try and pull away so he wasn't becoming any kind of a burden to the two cars behind, which is a tricky situation to be in. He's already a 10th up in the first sector, so again, whatever they've done overnight seems to be working for him, but Tom Onslow Cole might be a threat in the first half of the stint. This is a nice little slow-mo onboard shot of Michael Grenier as he winds his way through the chicane. Nice and level and flat. That car looks really planted, doesn't it? No oversteer, no nervousness at all. That car looks solid through that super slow speed corner, doesn't it?
And we've just got the second set time of Tonsley Cole, which is considerably faster than anyone else on track at the moment, but not the fastest in the session so far, nor his personal best. One car that is setting personal best further behind is the Indy Donche car that has actually dropped a place to 7th, because I believe Tejas Lazowski or Frederick Chandroff has just improved to 5th place, and he's currently 3rd in the Pro-Am classification.
Yeah, Frederick Chandroff, that car actually took the Pro-Am victory yesterday, and they were very delighted at that. But at one point, they're actually facing backwards up at turn 4 after they got tagged by the eventual race-winning car, I think it was. So they got sort of spun around and had to try and find themselves back into the race. So some complications there, but they managed to fight back and have a good stint from Lazowski.
And here's another car setting personal best, Henrique Chavez in 16th place, another to get in a bit of drama late in yesterday's race. The fastest first sector of the day, personal best in second sector, and has still in 17th place, but as we see him cross the line in a few seconds' time, he'll likely climb up the order.
And I think going back to that trouble we referred to, he did rather rudely nerf the Michael Grenier Norbert Seidler car out of the way. The chicane, that got him a time penalty, which meant he kept 3rd. Here is Henrique Chavez, and he goes top. Look at that. First one into the 144s, 144.964. So a storming first and final sector, personal best middle sector. So we were talking about yesterday when it came to the dry conditions that the McLarens really did have the pace. Lamborghinis have it as well, but these guys, of course, now they've got that victory on their home soil and a 3rd place with this car yesterday. They're fired up to get another good result this afternoon. And
because of the changing conditions yesterday, the cars had to have a compromise in the setup between the wet and the dry. And obviously the McLarens seem to have focused more on the dry pace than the Lamborghinis did. So hopefully we'll see the true pace of the two Lamborghini, especially the Emile Frey cars in today's race, as well as the qualifying session.
The two Emile Frey cars currently 2nd and 4th at the moment. Albert Costa's in the pit lane, so he's the one doing the qualifying. He will start today's car, and he will hand over to Giacomo Altoe, who started the car yesterday. And those two will try and maintain their lead. Now they're leading the points weekend as we see at this race, as we see Mateusz Lazowski in the Olymp Racing Audi work his way through the chicane. Nice little clip of curb, running wide on the exit, but that's acceptable. Onto the pit straight. Now he's 3/10 off, but where will this put him on this lap time? It will put him round about, if he can get any quicker, which he can't. He lost a couple of tenths in the final sector, which keeps him 5th. But that, by far, is a personal best qualifying result for them so far in the season, as far as I'm aware. So doing well so far for that car, and hopefully can get himself a strong result if they can carry that form into race 2.
We've already got some cars returning to the pits. Tom Onslow Cole, I believe, was on a flying lap there, but was stuck behind the Olymp Racing car and has entered the pits. So if we're seeing more of that, because we do have over 20 cars in this qualifying session, the track is very packed when everyone's on flying laps at once.
This is on board with Alain Cordair as he heads into Bank de Sabadell. I think he's chasing the number 13 Get Speed Mercedes, which has the Denis Remenyenko. He's only 20th fastest at the moment, but he's got plenty of time to improve that. We've got still half a session to go. And ironically, this was the car that caused the whole final lap skirmish, because, of course, ironically, this car was ahead of its teammate. He gets a little wide on the exit, and then it caused a problem for Sarabi to get past. Then Spinelli tried to go around the outside. Turns out he did cut the curb getting up the inside of the second part of the chicane, and that's what caused the change of position on the road. But I wonder if there was some rather awkward conversations going on in that carriage last night after what happened.
Yeah, and Kader made an improvement there to 9th place. It would have been interesting to be a fly on the wall in the team debrief after that race. There's obviously a lot of drama, of course, to nothing, and for the second round in a row, because we had the same or similar type incident at Silverstone where the two Teo Martin cars weren't exactly cooperating on track.
Yeah, but that was the Henrique Chavez and Sarabia. That car, sadly, had its weekend end quite early at the start of the first race when it hit the barriers at Maggots and Beckett's after contact with the Spirit of Race Ferrari. Now, it looks like they're racing, but of course I think Alain Cordair might start to get a bit frustrated that he's behind Denis Remenyenko and may have this lap balked, I think. Looking at his first sector, it's a personal best, but getting stuck behind is not going to help. That's not going to help it either, as Remenyenko does eventually get out of the way and get the message, but that might have compromised Cordair's lap here, so he might have to wind up for another one. Remenyenko still 19th, and he's done a personal best. He's on a personal best in that first sector, but not as quick. So I think effectively he might be giving Fabian Schiller, when he gets in later on this afternoon, a bit of extra work to move his way up the order. And that is interesting because depending on who they allocate as driver 1 and driver 2, you might get some cars which a quicking race on, obviously, at the beginning, and then fall off in the second half. But then when they have to switch over drivers, struggled in the first half of the race. But then when the fuel tank's a little bit lighter towards the second half of the race on fresher tyres, they might perform a bit better. So trying to pick exactly which driver goes first sometimes depends on the circuit or depends on the car, or might have other factors coming into it. So trying to play that strategy is always quite key, isn't it?
Yeah, I think one of the big factors today would also be temperature, because even when it's kind of later in the day here in Spain, the temperature remains very high, and so does the humidity as well, which can stress the cars. Rafael Gio Maria in the Raton Racing by Target cars jumped up to 8th place with a personal best of 1 minute 45.8, which means we currently have our top 8 cars covered by less than a second, which includes pro cars and Pro-Am cars.
That shows how it's very competitive it is. Just saw Adam Correa a little bit wayward. Now, Albert Costa's on a flying lap. He's a personal best in Sector 1. He's up by a tenth and a bit with the fastest middle sector. So Albert Costa trying to reignite the pace they had back at Silverstone after they lost it yesterday in the changeable conditions. Across the line goes the championship leader, and of course goes the top of the times. 1 minute 44.755. That means it's now Lamborghini and McLaren provisionally on the front row of the grid with just under half a session still to go. So Michael Grenier currently sat in 3rd position at the moment. Tom Onslow Cole 4th as he comes across the line. He'll be winding up for another hot lap. He's just come out of the pit, so that'll be him winding up for a new fast lap.
There's a lot of drivers set personal best in the first sector, but each of them are at least 3 tenths or 4 tenths off the Albert Costa Lamborghini at the front of the field. So I don't think that lap is going to be beaten by anyone other than one of the Teo Martin McLarens, which have looked very quick in the dry, or his teammate Michael Grenier.
But it certainly won't be beaten if he finishes this lap going quicker, because he's just had 29.9 in the first sector, so he's still pushing to try and basically put that pole position time out of reach. This is Andres Saravia, yesterday's race-winning car in the result. And already you can see Albert Costa at the bottom of that screen is already a 10th up in the first sector. Now, Andres Saravia is half a second off the pole time at the moment. One car that's struggling a little bit is the car that took pole position yesterday in the mixed conditions that's just come into the pits. That's number 10, SPS Automotive Mercedes. Miguel Ramos at the wheel qualifying that car. He'll hand over to the Italian Fabrizio Crestani later on in the race. Andres Saravia, has he lost any more pace at this point in time?
And Albert Costa's set another personal best in the middle sector, which is the fastest so far. But Frank Pereira almost matched him in that second sector as well. So we need to watch the number 90 Pereira car as well.
So whilst we watch that, on just a quick note with Saravia, he did come across the line and got to 6th fastest. He's done a 1:45.498. That's now been duped by Frank Pereira, as you were mentioning. So good spot on that one, Elliot. Up to 5th position he goes. And Albert Costa lowers the pole time even further, 1:44.574. So I think they're trying to make up for lost ground yesterday after struggling in those changeable conditions by trying to basically set a benchmark and a message to everyone else. That was a one-off. Our pace is back in the dry conditions. This is the benchmark. You need to match it.
And qualifying didn't necessarily give us a truly representative order yesterday either, because of the dire weather conditions. We're going to see if... I imagine Albert Costa will have a cool-down lap now, given he's set 2 flying laps in a row that have been very quick.
No, he won't.
He's set another personal best in the first sector. I am corrected. A 29.909. That's only a few thousandths quicker, though, this time, so maybe he is hitting the peak of his tyre life at the moment.
But I think he's fired up to, again, make up for lost ground. That's the 3rd time he's done that now. He's constantly gone quicker and quicker. And, of course, even though he's only improving by maybe thousandths of a second or so, it just shows the consistency, because he's chipping away at that fastest first sector bit after bit.
But what he does need to think about is there are 11 minutes left of this session, and the track is going to get quicker in those 11 minutes. So if he's getting all the best out of his tyres now, he's not going to be at his fastest when the track is at its fastest at the very end.
It's a good point, very good point on that one. So maybe he's supposed to just try and help lay down a bit more extra rubber, so that when he does possibly maybe bolt on a final set of tyres, he's got the maximum amount of grip towards the end of the session. So watch out for that one. So just under 11 and a half minutes to go then. Albert Costa leads the way, 1:44.574. He's cleared by almost 4 tenths. Here's a car we need to continue watching. This is Frank Pereira as he comes out of the chicane through New Holland corner onto the pit straight to finish a lap. He is half a second off, but this time should put him on a 45.0 if he carries on. And he does stay 5th, but he improves his time, 1:45.174. And also Michael Grenier is behind him, but he's just come out of the pits, I think, so he's now down the pit straight. Well, that was Albert Costa, actually. He just finished his time, and that was even still a 1:44.805. So it shows his consistency. It shows that he's that quick. And so I can't imagine that's going to be race pace, because obviously if he tries that, his tyres will be gone in like half the stint. So I think he's obviously setting up maybe just, again, proving a point that their pace hasn't dropped off that much and that they are still quick in dry conditions.
And he's also got clear air at the moment because there's only 6 or 7 of our 24 cars on track at the moment, which will definitely help with kind of finding the best lines to take when there's no other drivers about. Looking further down the order at the AM classification, it isn't very close, but Giuseppe Cipriani is the leading car again in that classification. I believe yesterday he was actually kind of mixing it with the Pro-Ams and Pros briefly.
He was at one point, and he did actually go on to win the M category yesterday, so he's going to try and do a double this weekend. One car which we didn't see in race 1 yesterday, and also subsequently we aren't seeing at the moment in this session so far, sadly, is the number 25 Mercedes of Martin Conrad and Alexander Hlakavina. Now, Hlakavina should be in the session, but sadly he's not setting a time, so whatever issue appears to be befalling the second of those HWA Motorsport Mercedes seems to be enough to, unfortunately, put it out for what looks to be the rest of the weekend. Tom Onslow Cole is at the moment in 4th position.
Guilherme Salas has just improved to 7th place, so 1 minute 45.423. So, in fact, a lot of the people further down the order have improved because we've now got a top 10 within a second of Albert Costa, who has lowered the benchmark by a second already. So, people are kind of keeping up with him at the moment.
They're certainly giving it a good go, and they've still got just under 10 minutes to go on that side of things. One car I think we should point out, which is struggling a bit in these dry conditions, but did perform well initially in the first race before they kind of forgot to make their pit stop in time, was number 96 Optum Motorsport Aston Martin. That's currently down in 15th fastest at the hands of Ollie Wilkinson. And it was Darren Turner yesterday who, up until that point, was looking pretty strong. The car was looking good, and then they missed the pit window, came in a lap too late, and then to add to their misery further, they came out of the pit stop, and I did notice initially, didn't I, that the car didn't look all that right when it was handling, and my suspicion was correct because it stopped just on the exit of turn 3, or turn 4, and it was pulled off because it had a loose... No, it was on the exit turn 8, turn 9, at the Campson corner. I correct myself there, forgive me. And it came off, and it was a loose front left or front right wheel, so they hadn't put the wheel on properly. So I think in maybe their haste to get the car back out again because they realised they'd made a mistake, obviously one wheel gun didn't obviously tie it on properly, and sadly that was them out of the race before they even had a chance to really, what would have been, I'm sure, give themselves a penalty for missing the pit window.
Yeah, they may have escaped a actual penalty being given for the second race, because sometimes when you can't take the penalty the first time round, they then allocate it either in the next session or the next race. And I haven't seen a steward's notice suggesting that is the case. So kind of got a get out of jail free card at the same time as retiring yesterday.
Well, here is Ollie Wilkinson, 15th fastest. He did a personal best in sector 1. He's a second off in sector 2. Cross the line, he goes up 2 spots to 13th. And this is Campson corner, which is where Darren Turner went off. And this is Ollie Wilkinson exploring the track limits and using all of it and a little more, just kicking up the dust on the exit of Campson corner.
And while Wilkinson's in 13th place, another of the pro cars, and we've already mentioned Miguel Ramos, Bikes Viza's down in 18th place, 2.8 seconds off pace, is currently setting personal bests in the first sector, but that's not the kind of position we'd expect that car to be in at the moment.
No, definitely not. That's been strong since it debuted at the Red Bull Ring. Now, whilst you were talking about that, I've noticed we need to watch Tom Onslow Cole. He's in a 29.8 first sector now. He's one of 10 Mercedes in this field. That car's been looking strong already. Let's take a look at his second sector if he's made any time or not. And is it purple or is it grey? It is, but look at that, half a second up. Tom Onslow Cole is flying on this lap so far. We're going on board with him now, a little wide on the exit of the Kaisha hairpin into back to Sabadell. We can see him just outside the commentary box window as he heads out of the right-hand into the chicane. He has got a Mercedes in front, but I don't think it's going to cause too much problems.
And one of the other Mercedes has just improved. Miguel Ramos has jumped all the way up the orders as a 4 for 1 minute 45.082.
So the Mercedes are coming alive. Oh, as he whacks over the curbs in the chicane, he is going for it. Into New Holland. Is this going to be a new provisional pole time for Tom Onslow Cole for Mercedes? Up to the checker, the timing line he goes, and he does go fastest. 1:44.289. He lost a couple of tenths in the final sector, but it is provisionally pole position for Tom Onslow Cole. Fantastic lap.
And Albert Costa won't be responding to that anytime soon because he is one of 2 cars currently in the pits. Everyone else is on track at the moment, making the most of the improving track conditions.
Well, I can see his car from outside the pit window in the pit lane with its wheels off, so unless they decide to stick on some new Michelin tyres and send him out again, that's his teammate Michael Grenier, who is going quicker personally, not in the session so far. He's 4th fastest at the moment. He's got his 3 tenths off. If he can get this time up, he can move up past Enrique Chavez to get himself 3rd quickest. Enrique Chavez, who in the last couple of laps did move up into 3rd quickest. Across the line goes Grenier, goes up to 2nd, so cracking that for Grenier to get himself up there. Found a bit more time in the last sector. And, oh, this is tag between the two Mercedes. That was one of the Antonelli cars, the number 5 machine. That was Stanislav Jeslinski. That's the only racing Mercedes. That's their other car, because they run, as you said earlier on, a Mercedes and an Audi, 2 different cars, which is not sometimes unusual for some teams to run 2 different cars. There's a team that I think that runs 2 different cars in GT Cup Open, but some usually like to run a pair of different cars, if not one.
And the Mercedes are grabbing all the attention at the moment, because in the AM class, John Schaffner in the Get Speed Performance with a unusual livery, we could say, has just moved into AM class pole position. But on screen at the moment, we have 2 Lamborghinis, aren't hitting one another on track, but they do seem to have held each other up, because Mikael Grenier's lap time is currently 7/10 off after 1 sector.
Yeah, the car he was getting past was one of the cars that's making its first appearance in the championship this weekend. That was the Boutsen-Guignon car, which has got Pierre Ferlioni at the wheel. He'll hand that over to Qualy Gosselin in the race. Here's yesterday's on-the-road race winner, Loris Spinelli. He's off by 8/10 this time so far. Across the line goes to 5th fastest. It's a good lap for Loris to put himself up into the top 5 with that effort.
And I believe I think Alan Cordera in 15th place in a Pro-Am Lamborghini could improve as well. Personal best in the 1st and 2nd sectors, and they are also very competitive times in those 2 sectors. I'm going to wait to see him cross the line for the 3rd sector. I believe he is, he's on screen now. Sorry, not a Lamborghini, a Teo Martin McLaren.
I've just been corrected by Ollie Wilkins' PR person, that just to correct myself, so thanks for that to Emma Spearing. It was a broken stub axle, not a mistake in the pit stop. So apologies to the Optima Motorsport squad, it was a broken stub axle that caused the problem. So.
And Alan Cordera has gone 3rd fastest, 0.271 seconds off Tom Onslow Cole, who's another who has now gone to the pits, as Albert Costa is still in the pits. So it's Mikael Grenier and Alan Cordera who are our 2 fastest pit men on track at the moment.
Andres Saravi is looking quicker. Out to the final corner, 3/10 off company provisional pole. Across the line goes the Teo Martin McLaren and goes 2nd quickest. So yesterday's in the result race winners onto the provisional front row. There's 4 minutes to go here. Guillaume Salas is looking quick as another Mercedes behind going almost straight across the chicane. And out through the final corner goes Salas. This car's been performing really well in this session so far in the dry conditions. Across the line goes Salas, and the Mercedes goes up to 7th with a 1:44.709. So Toronto Cole is just going out, possibly for a final effort, I think. Andres Sarabia 2nd now. Miguel Grenier 3rd. Then it's Alan Cordera in a great effort for 4th position. 5th place for Albert Costa. He's got some work to do. Frederick Schandorf up to 6th quickest. And Salas, Pereira, Chavez and Loris Spinelli rounding up the top 10.
I think Cordera could improve again, because he's just set another sub-30-second 1st sector, which is very hard to achieve. We've only seen a few drivers do that at the moment.
No, he's backed off, and I thought he was going a little slow down towards the hairpin, so he's backed off. He's now 2 seconds away, so maybe he's messed up in that middle sector somewhere, and possibly just backing off to try and wind it up for another lap later on. Vatskevis has brought the Senkia Motorsport BMW into the pits just below us in the commentary box, but she's only back down in 17th place. So, as you said earlier on, Elliot, that car's not performing as strong as it has been before at the likes of Red Bull and Silverstone, where it has been up and around the top 5. But maybe in the race, once they get Richard Gonda in there, or if by a good bit of race pace in that first stint, Vatskevis might be able to make up some more positions. It seems as though possibly in 1 lap, single lap pace in that car, maybe not all there, but in race pace, with the right setup, it might be pretty quick.
Yeah, they are currently last in the pro class, but there are only 9 pro cars in this championship, or at this round today. So the car would still be guaranteed points, I believe.
It would indeed. 2.25 minutes to go. Just seeing Mikael Grenier go across the line and remain in 3rd quickest at the moment. Of course, out qualifying so far their teammates. Albert Costa is back out on track, so I suspect he might be winding up for a quick one. It's just his first couple laps so far. So a 30.0 in the 1st sector, and there's cars below him that are going quicker. In particular, this car, the Guillaume Salas Mercedes, he's almost half a second off in the 2nd sector, goes across the line, and he goes quicker on his lap time.
And Albert Costa, though, has just set the fastest 1st sector of the session at 29.859. I think it's around 0.04 of a second faster than anyone's achieved so far.
So it looks like he was just maybe waiting to get on that last little set of tyres and get him out there. So Albert Costa will take a look at in a second. Here he is then, up towards the Verse chicane. And as you see here, Grenier is only 35 thousandths off the fastest time set by Tom Onslow Cole. Costa was only 3 thousandths quicker. So very close pace, a nip and tuck between the 2 Emil Frey Lamborghinis.
And Frank Pereira has just improved to 6th place at 1 minute 44.663. We're waiting for Henrique Chavez, who set another poor 1st sector, but was looking very quick prior to that. So maybe could he get round in time to set another lap?
We'll have to wait and see on that one if he does. Albert Costa's lost a little bit of time in the 2nd sector. He's now down by almost a 10th and a bit. This is Mikael Grenier. He's 3/10 down on pole, and he's not really going to improve too much on this lap time. He should stay in third position on this lap, unless he finds a mega final sector. He might get a small toe from the Ollie Wilkinson Optum Motorsport Aston Martin. Grenier goes across the line, and he does not improve. He found some time in the final sector, though. Albert Costa, meanwhile, will come to finish his lap time in the background. Across the line goes Costa, and goes pole. 1 minute 43.920, a storming final sector, 34.239 in the final sector. Albert Costa pulls the rabbit out of the hat and picks up provisional pole position with about 25 seconds left to go in the session. What a lap that was, and what a final sector.
And Miguel Ramos, who pitted just about a minute ago, his team manager's been summoned to race control, so I wonder what that's for. It doesn't seem to have done anything bad on track. We've got several other cars coming in. Number 17, Teo Martin. Number 8, Antonelli Motorsport Mercedes, and the number 22, Guilherme Salas, who's previously just set a lap to go 8th fastest.
We've also got the Teo Martin McLaren with Enrique Chavez at the wheel, also making it down the pit lane. Now, Thomas Leclerc's on a 29.9 in the first sector, which means he's off the pace at the moment in this first run so far. And Costa's first sector was a 29.8, so he's still lapping near his pace, but that was an incredible final sector. And again, we saw slow-mo just recently there of the car going through the final couple of corners. Again, looks really lovely and flat and level through the chicane. No bumps, no awkwardness, no oversteer at the moment. This is Ollie Wilkinson at the moment. I think he's given up on that last lap, possibly, or I could be wrong, but 16th at the moment. Here is Tom Onslow Cole. He's off by only 63 thousandths of a second. Is he still going at pace, or is that just an illusion? Is he still going along? I think he's still going at pace at the moment. Into the hairpin. Has he improved? No, he's backed off on this last lap. I thought he was off the pace a little bit. So
I do not believe anyone who is still left on track is going to make an improvement. So our order is likely to remain the same now, at least in the top 10.
Looks like it. And so Albert Costa was waiting for the final opportune moment to put in that last flying lap. So it looks as though, as the session has now gone to the checkered flag, it means that Tom Onslow won't improve. But even so, though, mega lap from Tom to put himself on the front row of the grid, and that car has won races before in the past, so don't count him out for a race victory particularly. He's looking pretty strong on a circuit like this. He needs to get himself into a strong position to allow his teammate Valentin Pierberg a good chance to hold on to the lead if he can. But of course, that Albert Costa car's got a very formidable teammate in Giacomo Toe. Here is the Alam Coder and Marcelo Han McLaren. 5th quickest for them. That's one of their better qualifying results, so well done. In fact, I think actually they're the 2nd best McLaren. All 3 of them are in the top 10. But celebrations once again, and I think Albert Costa's saying to himself, that's more like it. Back on pole position, and it was that mega final sector that got him the pole position time. So it will be provisionally championship leaders Albert Costa and Giacomo Toe on pole, and there are celebrations all round for Emil Frey Racing for that lap. I think that's one of the best moments of the season, particularly Giacomo Toe is happy with that one. And this means effectively they've now got to try and build on rebuilding the 7-point gap they've got there at the championship, because it got reduced by the fact they didn't score any points. And of course, the likes of Andres Sarabia and the cars around them picked up points as a result of that when they struggled. But now their task is literally try and get themselves back to the top step of the podium, and once again build that lead once more. Hope that the cars that did finish ahead of them start to struggle and don't have as much pace.
And in an ultra-competitive session, we have 3 manufacturers in the top 3, and we're going to see the results now.
So Albert Costa, with a brilliant final lap, gets the pole position by over almost 0.4 of a second. Tom Onslow Cole with a great effort to go 2nd quickest from Andres Sarabia, 3rd. Michael Grenier 4th for Emil Frey Racing. Alam Coder with one of his best results in 5th in qualifying. Front Pereira goes 6th quickest for Raton Racing. Frederic Schandorf is 7th. That's Guillaume Salas, Enrique Chavez and Loris Spinelli. And then looking down the order, we'll just see there at the bottom of the field in 20th position there is your AM pole position man, Giuseppe Cipriani, ahead of John Schuffner and Pierre Felioni. So that means then everything is nicely set up. And let's go down to the pit lane for the interview with our pole sitters.
Albert Costa, pole position for race 2 here at home. You must be very happy.
Yeah, it's amazing, no? Yesterday, to be honest, was a pain in the ass what happened in the race. I'm sorry for the vote, but we managed not on the right way. We had to risk, but at the same time, we're not risking. So this is a good answer for all the team that is doing an amazing job. So I'm so happy, but we know in the race we have a 15-second handicap, so we need to finish and collect the maximum points as possible. Race will be very hard, but we are on the way. I'm so happy. Thanks to everybody, and thanks to all the fans who are coming, because it's amazing.
Well done, and there will be quite a few people for you this afternoon here.
I guess, yes, so it's an extra motivation, this.
Well done, all the best.
Well, a brief apology there for the slightly overexcited Albert Costa with a slight use of language there, but you can see he's obviously trying to get over the frustration. So there is your pole-sitting car, Albert Costa and Giacomo Altori. They want to get victory and also rebuild their Championship lead once again. But will anyone else be able to stop them here this afternoon? Join us for race 2 later on. But for myself, Scott Woodward, Elliot Wood, and all of us here at Circuit Catalunya Barcelona, it's goodbye for now and catch us for race 2 this afternoon.